So let's begin and ask ourselves, what is bravery? They say in the language that bravery is shiddatul qalbi inda al-ba's. It is the firmness of the heart during battle or in times of calamity. Like in عند البأس, it's more likely during battle. But I like this technical definition. I think it's more comprehensive. الإقدام على المكاره والمهالك عند الحاجة إلى ذلك وثبات الجأش عند المخاوف والاستهانة بالموت. I think it's a nice definition. It is braving hardships and dangers when necessary. Steadfastness in the face of fear and a disdain for death. And that death is, if death is the consequence, death is the consequence. If that's what it takes. Now I want to break this down because I want you to identify this in the stories. First of all, braving hardships and dangers when necessary. That's a very important restriction. Because without that, it becomes under the ayah, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Don't make your own hand the reason for your death. So there has to be a need. Otherwise, throwing yourself into destruction is not bravery, it's foolishness. But throwing yourself into destruction when the need calls for it, and remaining steadfast even though your heart is full of fear, and recognizing that death might be a consequence of that, and being willing to accept it as a consequence. This is one of the most comprehensive definitions of bravery. And you see that in all three of these stories. Bravery in da'wah, all of this is here. That is, in a da'wah situation, braving hardships and dangers because it's needed, not just for the sake of it, it's needed. Being steadfast in the face of fear and realizing that even if death is a consequence, so be it. If that's what Allah has decreed. In battle, it's clear. In speaking the truth, again, when necessary. We're not going to take away hikmah. Yani sometimes it can be wiser to remain silent about something because it's not the right time to speak, or because the consequences will be worse than the consequences of remaining silent. But when necessary, speaking the truth, even when your heart is full of fear, even when you recognize that potentially it could reach a level where a person loses their life, but they're willing to accept that as a consequence. And you're going to see these three stories, two of them from the time of the Sahaba and one of them from the time of the followers of the Tabi'een, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And I also want at the end to reflect upon how we can think about this in our life. We're not going to take a huge amount of time. We probably finish in another half an hour or so. And in future lessons, we'll try also to start a little bit quicker. The first days, it takes a bit of time to figure everything out. But it's not a very long lesson, inshaAllah ta'ala. But at the end, I really want us to reflect and ask ourselves, for me, where does this come in? Because it's not just battle. Well, it's not just a case of battle. Battle might be on our minds at the moment, coming out of the situation that we found ourselves in. But also, it's something that you find in your daily life, especially when you talk about da'wah, especially when you talk about speaking the truth. When you find something done wrong in front of you, and you know that there's a need to speak, and you know that you can. And it's not even, you're not fearing death. You're just fearing a bit of embarrassment, but you don't find it in yourself to be able to do that. That's also something to think about.